My name's Megan, and I'm an account manager here at Marquee 360. You'll also be hearing from Charlene, our West Coast account manager, and Mia, our solutions architect, who's going to be doing the demo today. Today, our agenda will be Charlene and I will be giving a little background on Marquee 360 and our focus areas. Then Mia will be doing the demo. And then lastly, we'll have some time for Q&A, hopefully. As I always say, we love an interactive audience. So please ask questions along the way or go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll see if we can't get them answered. And if not, we'll respond with the answer following the demo. And also, we will be sending out the recording after the demo, so please share with your team members that weren't able to make it. And we're always happy to set up an individual demo. So a little bit about us. Marquee 360 was founded by Microsoft employees who are industry leaders. We have a very, very seasoned team with 20 plus years in the PMO industry. And we take Microsoft Suite and we enhance it. We enhance its capabilities by customizing it and filling any gaps or pain points, automating functions, and taking a lot of your manual work out of the process. So our main mission is to drive growth and enhance your internal processes. And we try to achieve this by implementing best practices to optimize your efficiencies, overcome any pain points, fill in any gaps in your process, and collaborate communications all into one place. So our core focus areas for success are innovation. We are, again, pioneers in enhancing the Microsoft Suite on the Power Platform, and again, building any gaps that may exist. Our goals are to elevate your experience and to customize and align it with whatever your company's project and portfolio requirements are. And we work side by side with Microsoft's technology team during their development process, which ensures that our solution is always aligned with their Microsoft roadmap. Customer success, very important. We act as your trusted advisor, ensuring unwavering support from implementation to completion with ongoing support, a 24-hour support desk, and hypercare, etc. We also utilize our expertise, again, in best practices to tailor and customize our solutions to align with your organization's requirements. And then lastly, support. We recognize the critical role it plays in the successful Launch to Any program. So we do offer 6-month and 12-month ongoing support programs till your company's up to speed and fully satisfied with your results. So now I'm going to be handing it off to Charlene and to go over some of our key PPM 360 solutions for the new planner.
Thanks, Megan. So like Megan said, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Planner today. This is going to be Microsoft's newest product offering. So Microsoft has invested a lot of research and development work into making the work management experience easier. So Microsoft offers 3 main tools for managing work tasks. There's going to be Microsoft To Do, Planner, and Project for the Web. To Do is great for personal work tasks. Planner is great for that team collaboration. And then Project for the Web is great for more complex projects. And what Microsoft found is that it's hard to know which tool to use and why. And then upgrading from maybe Planner to Project for the Web can be a little bit difficult. So what they did is they brought the simplicity of To Do, Planner, and Project for the Web into one new platform, and it's called New Planner. So this is going to unify tasks, plans, and projects across the Microsoft ecosystem and integrate with the tools you're already using, like Outlook, Teams, SharePoint, Power BI. And it's centralized to include both individual tasks and enterprise work management. All right, Mia, if you want to take over here and kind of discuss some of the differences between those two and how they relate.
Sure. Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Charlene. What we're going to focus on today is modern work management from Microsoft. And Microsoft focuses on 2 different paths for this. There's collaborative work management, which is going to be our focus today. And as you can see in the slide, the main tool for that is going to be the new planner. So this is great for business users and informal project managers. It provides us different ways to manage our tasks, whether we're a single person working on our tasks and tracking our own to-do items, or if we are working with a small group and we need to track who's doing what and making some light assignments. But then also the new planner includes a lot of what we see in Project for the Web. We're going to take a look at that today. The new planner is in Microsoft Teams, so that's where we'll spend most of our time. And then you'll see other webinars from us and other blog posts and all kinds of content about our accelerator, which we call PPM 360. So this is used for more of enterprise work management. If we've got a full PMO, we've got a team of people that are working together to meet different objectives, and they need to track things like programs and portfolios. The enterprise work management system is set up just for that. You can do agile projects there. There's a place for resource management. There's an ideation process that we add to that. There's also cost management, time tracking, and of course, reporting and dashboards. So when we're looking at enterprise work management, here a lot of times what we'll think about is the accelerator, right? And it accelerates Project for the Web out of the box and gives you more of these options. All right, so these two streams are both really important. It all just depends on what your goals are. So for today, we're going to look more at Planner in the beginning, and at the end, if we've got some time, then I'll show you more of the accelerator. The accelerator really helps to provide everything that you need to run a set of full projects all in one convenient way. So it brings together multiple parts of the Power Platform, Power Apps and Power Automate and Power BI, of course, but then also Project for the Web or Planner is built in there. And everything is stored in the cloud. It uses Microsoft's Dataverse. And for things like goal tracking, there are other parts like Viva Goals that can be included. And then, of course, Copilot is something that we're all very interested in. And everything that we build at Marquee 360 is meant to work along with the Copilot updates from Microsoft. All right, so we're not going to spend the whole time together on slides. We're going to go over to the environment and actually take a look at a couple of these things. Some of the things that we want to focus on today when it comes to the things that are new with the new planner include what you see on your screen now. So with this, every once in a while, there are updates that will come out from Microsoft to improve things. Usually those updates are pretty good at focusing on the things that we need as people that are working on these projects. That's because Microsoft has a priority on feedback that they get from people like you and me. As we submit our feedback to Microsoft, they use that to prioritize their backlog. And as we see these updates, we'll try to keep you in the loop with blogs and webinars like this one. So we're going to look at the columns. There's a new column that has been added to one of the views. There's conditional coloring, which has been a favorite for people that we've been working with. There are goals and baselines that they can take. And then, of course, in the new planner, there are basic plans and premium plans. And then we'll also take a very quick look at the most recent update, which is portfolios. They've got portfolios in the new planner now. And with that, we'll go ahead and start to look at this in real life in our demo. So I'm going to move over and start to show Microsoft Teams. And in Microsoft Teams, the specific part that I'm going to show is Planner here. Now, I'm not sure with this group that, there are some people that might be using this already, and maybe some that are starting to get a little bit more familiar. If you're someone that doesn't have Planner on your menu here, you can add it by going to the More Options menu here. And then you can sometimes see Planner right in the front, or you can search for it up here and then add it that way. And once you add Planner, then you'll see it on your menu over here on the left. So Charlene was mentioning earlier that what the new planner includes is a lot of what we've seen in other areas from Microsoft previously as separate items. If I go over to the browser, I'm going to come here just to quickly kind of show you how I used to navigate around before these updates came into play. From the Microsoft App Launcher, right? Once you're logged into Office 365, the App Launcher will be there. But some of what we've got here mixed in are to-do, right? To-do is great for managing personal tasks. I'll show you a little bit of my to-do list later on, but in the to-do area, that's where I would track things. Little things that I wanted to remind myself, to follow up with certain people, to set up certain types of training. So those are all to-dos that are outside of my project work and just really, my personal work that I need to complete. So to-do was great for that, and there's a whole to-do app. It's also integrated with Outlook, which makes things very easy. And then, of course, there's Planner here. Planner, a lot of times I would use that as part of a smaller team, right? If there's something that we need to collaborate and different people are going to be assigned and I want them to get notifications and all of that, that's when I would go over to Planner and create a plan for us there. And then, of course, Project, where there's Project for the Web, which is also now known as Planner. That's accessible from here too, and that's what I would use to run a full project. What I'm showing here in the browser is kind of one step above just the Microsoft Project for the Web / Planner that comes from that menu I was just showing. This is Planner / Project for the Web with the accelerator. Okay. So we'll go back over to Teams and start to look at these pieces and how they come together in the new planner. The first thing that we'll see on the new planner is this menu over here. On this menu, you can see I'm on the My Tasks section now. And here, what they've done is add in to do, essentially, right here. So with these tasks, I can look at different types of tasks. As I was mentioning earlier, right, my personal to-do, what I used to use the to-do app for a lot, were my private tasks. So sending project status updates before I go out for a break, right? Giving certain demos and working on these webinars, right? These are all my private tasks that aren't really assigned as part of a project. I also, as you'll see here, flag a lot of emails in my inbox. So that is a great way to know that there is something that you want to follow up on. If somebody sends you an email and you're running off to a meeting and you don't necessarily have time to answer it right then, being able to flag it helps it to be visible when you're looking at your tasks. And then, of course, under Assigned to Me, these are the tasks that are assigned to me from different projects. With each one of these tasks, I could go ahead and open it up. Sometimes what I'll do with these also is I'll add these to my day. So this helps me to have certain tasks that I'm going to prioritize for today to look into. And then what's really handy here also is that there's an all option. So here, if we look under Plan, we can see where these tasks originated. Some of these are from my email, some of these are from project plans. And then as we scroll down here, some of these will be my private tasks. So this is everything all together in one view. And then what's always helpful is the option to be able to filter. So that search option is here too. A lot of times, we may have a project or a task where we remember part of the name, but not the full name. So the search really helps with that. So this is the My Tasks area. It's a lot like to do. And then here with my day, the items that I've chosen to prioritize for today will show up on my list here. Okay, and then we do have a little scroll bar here so we can see some of the items. With the quick look column, which is really helpful, we get to see that this one has a note and an attachment and a couple of checklist items as well. Okay, so this is it for the individual tasks that are assigned to me. We can always add new tasks from this view or from the My Tasks view, but this is how any resource can stay on top of the items that they want to pay attention to. The next thing we'll take a look at is My Plans on this menu. So these are planner plans that I own, right? And in this section, this list here is going to be different for everybody, but what we can all do from here is create a new plan. And when I click here, if I do need something more than a to-do list, where I'm going to track a couple of tasks for myself. Let's say that me, Megan, Charlene, that we need to coordinate on some tasks together. And it would be helpful for the three of us to know where exactly the other one is with those tasks. That's where creating a new plan comes in handy. We can go ahead and create a basic plan. Anybody can create the basic one. And then the templates here, these are from Microsoft, and they'll help you to get started with a few tasks. There are a couple of other ways that we'll see later on where we can get a head start with tasks using AI, and we'll get there in a little bit. So here with the basic plan, we're going to enter in some very simple information. We'll put in the project name. Of course, that's required. We could add this to our pinned plan so that it'll show here. So that helps it to be a lot more visible. Just keep it front and center. And then the other thing that we can do is we can add this to an existing group. Now that is optional. We don't have to do that, but if it is going to help us, then it is a head start. I'm going to do this just so we can see what it looks like. So the members of Basic Plan A are now going to be members of this new plan that we're creating together. And with that, I'm going to click on Create. It takes just a few seconds to create the plan. And there it is. We've got our basic webinar plan. We've also got it pinned over here in this left menu. I really like to have a lot of space when I'm working on these things, so I'm going to hide this menu or collapse it for now. And now we get a little bit more room to look around. So the main things here, we can see that we're in the My Plans area and we're looking at this basic webinar plan. We can also see that there are a couple of views here, mainly these first 4 views. And then we'll come back and talk about timeline and some of the other options in a little bit. You can see now with the little symbol, right, that these are the premium views. So a Plan 3 license is going to be needed to use the premium views. But for now, with the basic plan, we can go ahead and start to look through these. Adding tasks is really simple. Depending on which view we're in, we'll see the Add Task option here. So I'm just going to make a simple Task A. Because I created this plan and added an existing group, I already have the members of that group here. So in that group that I added to this new plan, I was working with Erin and Tracy. And what we're going to do now is just start to use this to make some assignments. We could also start to type in a new name here and start to assign someone new. Right, so we'll add that task. We have it here, and we could just continue to add new tasks. The tool here is extremely flexible, right? We all have different ways that we want to classify our tasks while we're working. Even though this is a small planner project with a few of us on this group, we might have different ways that we want to look at these. Right, so what we can do is we can go ahead and adjust the buckets. There are changes we can make to this group once we create the group, the plan, and add that existing group. So here with the bucket names, they're very flexible. Each project you have can have different bucket names, or if you wanted to standardize somehow, you could do that as well. This is something also when we get into the higher project plans that are more project for the web based, right? We can build those in as templates so that you don't always have to enter in your bucket names. Okay, so we can go ahead and rename these in any way that we see fit. So if there are different categories we have for our project, we can go ahead and start naming these buckets. And then here, as things progress, we can just drag and drop. Each bucket has a way to add a new item. There are also filters. So you'll see that already there are 2 filters applied here. So we're not looking at the completed projects, just what's not started and in progress. The filters are also really helpful because sometimes you get assigned to a plan like this, and there may be a lot of tasks for different people. If you just want to focus in on your own tasks, the assignment filter is really great. So now we're not looking at anything that's unassigned or assigned to anybody on the team, but you can just focus on your own. So these are great to play around with. There are also labels, right? So we could start to create labels in some of the other views. And then our grouping here, we can change that too. If we want to group by assigned to, right? A lot more useful when we have more people assigned. or if we want to group by progress or due date or labels once we create those, those are all different options for viewing these tasks. So each person on the team may have a different preference, and the tool is flexible enough to accommodate that. I'm going to take a look at the grid view. Right, the add new task is an option here too. So here you can start to enter in your information and then start to type in different information. Right, so I'm going to add somebody that was not in the plan or not in the group that I added when I was creating this plan. Okay. So what we can do here also is just kind of go through these and start to enter in the information. We can assign a bucket. We can enter the progress. It might be a little too early for that. We can set the priority. And then the labels are also a column here. With these tasks, we can also open these up and then start to define what our labels are. The labels display here, right? And they're by default just colored labels. And then what we can do is go ahead and set those up. So if we want these to match workflow phases, for example, or workflow stages, we can do that. But again, this is something that is more of a personal attribute that you can set based on which project you're working on and what your needs are. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just assign a label here. With this view, when we open up a task, and we can do this from any of the views, we get to see all of the details right here. So everything we saw as columns here, plus more. We can enter in notes, and this is an important way of being able to communicate with the team. So now if I'm assigning this task to somebody, they'll know what I'm expecting from them when they're completing this task.
Hey, Mia, a couple questions.
Oh, okay.
If you change the group after a plan is created and assigned a group originally, would you need to remove all assignments if the new group doesn't have someone who's assigned to a task already?
Sorry, say that one more time. If we're adding somebody to the group, would we need to remove?
Well, I guess the first question was, can you change the group after a plan is created and assigned a group originally?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And then
we can do that.
Then would you need to remove all assignments if the new group doesn't have someone who's assigned to the task? I guess from the old group. Yeah.
You shouldn't need to remove the group in that scenario.
Okay. And then how can you change the group assigned to the plan? How can you delete a plan?
Oh, deleting a plan. All right, let's take a look at that. I'm not going to delete this one quite yet because we've got a couple more updates to make, but I will show that because first, there are different ways to delete the basic plan versus a premium plan, which, it helps to see those. So we'll be able to take a look at that. But essentially, we'll open up the plan details, and that's where we'll see the option to delete. Okay, so we'll take a look at that. Megan, just remind me if we start to move away from this area without that.
Will do.
Okay, and then when it comes to communicating on these tasks, the notes are one way, the comments are another. And with the comments on a basic plan like this, it will, once we add these, add a timestamp along with the comment. So it's a great way to track things as we move through the conversation. Okay, so we saw the board view. There's a schedule view, which is more just the calendar. Even from here, we can start to create tasks. Okay, and then we can start to update these details too. Anytime we see even the small card here, we can click on it to expand and then start to make updates. There's a charts view where it's not really here that we would, create new tasks, but it is a great way to view, right? You could create your tasks here, but kind of the benefit of this view is telling you where things are, right? So once we have some movement on these tasks and we want to see where things are, how many are left, how these are distributed among buckets and the different priorities, then this is a great way to be able to view those. Also comparing who's assigned to how many tasks. All right, I do have another basic plan out here. So I think we can go ahead and look at deleting. I am going to go over to basic plan A. And then here, there's plan details. And their option to delete this plan is down here. All right. Okay. So part of what Microsoft does here is they allow you to change and kind of grow as you're working on things. If we have a need for just updating, simple parts of the project plan, and we need to start making more assignments or grow into some of the views that we need for a premium plan, right? Then we can go ahead and we can start to make those updates. I forgot to show here also deleting the group. So the same place where we're deleting the plan itself, we can delete the group from here too. I want to show a premium plan. And one of the options that we could do here is we can take this basic plan and then start to convert it to a premium plan. Whenever you see these views with the premium symbol, right, there is an option to convert here. There's also, reference information about the difference between the plan types, which can help. But again, part of what's needed here is going to be the license. So that's one way to create a premium plan. Another is to create a plan from here and go to premium. All right, I'll add this to the pinned plans too. And this one I'm just going to go ahead and create. With this premium plan, what we're going to get to see is we get to control more of the details, okay? When we were looking at the slides earlier, we were talking about some of the things that we can do with these planner plans, right? We can start to have baselines captured. We can capture more of the individual tasks and start to view those in different ways. So a lot of what we'll see here is similar to what we saw with the basic plan, but with a couple of other options at the top. One of the most important options that we'll see here is the Copilot. So with Copilot, you get to use this to help you with your work, not just to build your project plan, but you can also use it to analyze some of your data or understand some insights from your project. So here, let's say that instead of starting with me adding tasks and you all watching me add those one by one, then we're going to just start by asking Copilot to add some tasks for us. So it'll take a few minutes, right? A little less than a few minutes, but we can see it's moving already, and it's got a couple of different tasks in it for us here. It's got a work breakdown structure, and everything looks pretty good. If I had realized that I typed that in here and I don't like any of this, right? There is an option to undo. So you're not, married to anything that comes up through the Copilot, and you have a way to kind of interact with it as well. Based on the suggestion or the request that I just made here, it will come across with some other suggestions. Earlier, we saw in the board view those different buckets. So we might want to add buckets, right? And the Copilot can help us with that. With goals, it's similar, right? With premium plans, you can also track different goals for your project. So I'm going to add some goals here just by clicking on that suggestion. Okay, and then we can create specific goals. So a lot of times these prompts, they'll pop up and they can be really, really useful. And then they can also help you to think about what types of questions you might want to ask from the system. So as we scroll up, the history is there, and we can use these still for ideas. I'm going to close that Copilot window. One of the things that we asked it to do for us was to create some goals, right? And this project or this premium plan has a goals view, right? So we saw grid, board before, we saw the charts too. But the goals view here allows us to track our goals for this specific project. And if we have tasks that go along with those goals, what we're able to do is go ahead and add tasks. So we can create a new task. This is the same add new task button that we saw in the basic plan, in the grid view and the board view. And in the charts view. Okay. So we can add those goals in here. Another thing that we can do, especially because we have this set up where we had a couple of tasks already that were AI generated, maybe if we just want to associate those goals with those existing tasks, we can use the connect tasks option here. And then all we need to do, we can search if we need to, right? But here we get to see our work breakdown structure. We can go ahead and select the tasks that should match this goal. Okay. What's important here also is that we get also, a view, very much like what we saw in the grid view. If we need to make certain updates, we can go ahead and make those here. Okay. So here, I can go ahead and start to add people to these tasks, right? I can start to define this goal a little bit more. Maybe we do have certain dates that we need to capture. With any of these views, as long as we see one of these tasks, there are these different options here. The Open Details menu, this will allow you to view the full card. And again, with this, if you like a little bit more space, you can expand it. And now we get to see more of these fields. When we created the basic plan earlier and we expanded the card to see all of the fields that are collected, there were less fields than what we see right here. We had the labels and the notes and the checklist item, but here we also have effort. When we have a project manager that's running a formal project, right, capturing the effort for these tasks can be pretty important. We see the goals, we can connect them here. But also we can add attachments and we can also add dependencies. We didn't have that with the basic plan. So here, it'll suggest different tasks for us. Usually it's just looking at the tasks that precede this one. And with each one of these, if we want to select one of these options, notice that on the right, there is this little arrow here that gives us more information. So we can create a task with a finish to start dependency, a finish to finish, or a start to start. If we're using finish to finish or start to start, it's a great idea to enter in the delay type as well. And then you can specify how many days. Right, so you have the ability to fine tune that. There's also a preview here. One of the things that happens with Planner, because now it is so accessible and so easy to get to and easy to use, what we've seen is that there are a lot of formal project managers here, but also a lot of informal project managers. Maybe they are actually, in another role, but they're managing a project. What happens here is that you can show the preview, and this gives you a little bit of a visual. So now when we're adding this finish to finish with a 2-day lag, we get to see what this looks like on our schedule. And this visualization may help us to make sure that we are capturing this correctly. Right? I'm going to add this, and I'm going to go ahead and close this part of the window. We want to look at a couple of other views and see how these tasks all come together. With the timeline view, this is another place that we could enter in our dependencies. So the little circle here, when we drag that down to this little circle here, that's enough to create that dependency. Okay. We can also do things here like adjust the duration. So if we're more of a visual person, right, we can go ahead and just click and drag directly on the timeline to make those updates.
Hey, Mia, question. Does effort roll up in the calculation now to the next level on the planner? And for example, if you have 10 tasks linked to a goal, can the goal show the effort and the percentage complete at the goal level?
You know what? I'll need to look at that. we always have the roll up that displays like this with the summary tasks and everything. And then with the goals, we may need a little bit more. This would be something where we could kind of play around with this and see what's possible as far as showing the completion of the goal itself. I'm assuming that with this question, you want to see kind of goals written out like this, right? And then the same way that these summary tasks roll up to show this span, we see the same for the goal updates. And I have not done that yet. All right. I do want to show a couple other things here. So one is that, there are baselines here. Right now, there's the possibility to create one baseline, but from what we're seeing on the back end, it looks like Microsoft is preparing to include more baselines. This is something that with an accelerator like PPM 360, we can also build that process in so that you can take your baselines and see them with the appropriate task level fields. So that's something to keep in mind, right? That sometimes if there is something that we see here, but we would like that extended a little bit, that's where that accelerator comes in. All right, so here what'll happen is that as we start to do things that'll push this date out, we'll start to see that we are no longer on track, and then we'll get to see what the updated values are here. Okay. There's a question in the chat. Can you update the task completion % based on date? Okay. I think I saw that answered in the chat, but I'm not sure. Let's look at some of the other views, and then if that question's still out there, let me know. With this, I think it's also really important to note that there are different ways that you can update your view, right? In the basic plan, there aren't really that many updates you can make to the view. So that's why it's such a nice thing that Microsoft added that labels as part of the view, right? Because we can't update our basic plan views as much as we can the premium plan views. So here, we can choose to hide things. We can also choose to add a column. So we can add any of the columns here. These are a lot like the columns we saw when we were opening up cards and editing the details on the card. But then also we get to create our own new field if we want to. And when we're creating a new field, what we get to do is define that field. So we can set it to capture the information that way that we need. So these could be dates. If we have different go live dates or something like that, we can capture those there. If we have, a numerical value that we want to capture, we can do that. We can set up a choice value or a choice field. So here, we can set this up so that we have different options, right? So internal, external, and then let's say we've got a combination. With these, there are all kinds of things you can do to highlight certain items. So we can add choices here. You see here, we can also hover over and remove a choice if we've mistakenly added one. And then when we create, it'll add this column here for us. So it's one more way that we get to define these tasks and make sure that we are capturing the right amount of detail. Because we're adding this column, right? When we look at our filters, we're going to be able to filter by that, right? So that really helps us too. If there's anything that you can think of while you're working on your project plan that would be great to use for filtering or sorting, being able to create a field like this really helps a lot. And then I will also show conditional coloring here. This is a way to draw your attention to certain tasks. So here, if we want to go ahead and say that we're going to look at fields or tasks that are assigned to, I'll choose Megan here. Right, we can show that we can choose that those display in a certain way. So it's just a visual reference for yourself so that you can draw your attention there. The quick look column, again, is also where we're going to see some of that great information about checklist items. right? And as these are checked off, we'll be able to see this quick look update. The notes will also display there. All right. So a quick way to know that when you're looking at the grid view that this one has, some subtasks that are associated with it, maybe some notes that you might be interested in. This quick look is really helpful in that way. So it's a nice column to have. Oh, go ahead, Megan.
Yes, Damon would like to know, do these new fields get added in a specific, do these new fields get added in a way where there's available to other plans?
Oh, that's a good question. When you ask about those fields, I think you mean like these new fields that we create? They do not. They don't get added to other plans. They would have to manually get added to other plans. If you're using the accelerator, also something that's important to note is that these don't show up in the reports, right? Because they could vary pretty greatly. When it comes to all of the different Microsoft options, I will just say that Microsoft does have a product family, okay? And in that product family, Project for the Web is part of it. So what we're seeing here, this is part of the Microsoft Project product family. There's also, of course, Microsoft Project Online, and that works along with Microsoft Project Professional. So those are still available. For people that are used to using those other applications, right, the grid view is really similar. And another view that's really helpful is the people view. Sorry, not the people view, the assignments view. And it all depends on how you're using Project, the desktop app. But here, a lot of times what we would do is look at this to kind of break down tasks by resource, but also look at tasks in the task usage view. So this is going to list out the tasks and show the people assigned to them and high-level information. But if this task really had a longer duration, right, or more people assigned, and we wanted to divide up who's going to do a certain percentage of the work, right, this view would be what you could use. We've also been able to set up reports, right, that are using information that we see here. And we can look at those reports in these types of time increments, which has been really helpful. So the daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. With this, being able to see all of these plans is fantastic, right? But if we want to think about taking the next step and having this all available so that we can look at a whole portfolio of projects, there are a couple of things that we should note. First, that there is a new part in here called My Portfolios. This will allow you to go ahead and create a portfolio and then add different projects to it. And it's a lot like the roadmaps that we see that we've had from Microsoft previously. With this, you can create a new portfolio pretty simply. I just have this in preview right now. Okay, so this is pretty new, and we're definitely going to talk more about this. I think we're already planning a blog post that'll walk through the steps of how to create these. But if we just take a quick peek, and I'll just show you one that's already created. Creating a new one is really just naming it. It's as simple as creating a plan was. So it's great to know that Microsoft is keeping things simple. But what you essentially do is you can add different plans to the portfolio. Right, so there's an add plan option. And then once you choose a plan, there is just one thing to confirm here. All right, you saw a roadmap pop up. It's a lot like the roadmaps we've had before, but here we get to enter in a status. So whether this is on track, closed, off track, at risk. So it's nice to be able to see those, right away. All right, and then there's also another view here, just the roadmap view, that'll show you more of the timeline for those. And you can zoom in and all of that. So this is one way that you could track a bunch of projects that are, organized by portfolio. So if you don't see the my Portfolio section right now, it may be something related to timing. A lot of times with the updates that we get from Microsoft, we don't all get them at the same time. So Carla, I would keep an eye out and see if this pops up for you. And then otherwise it might be related to, oh, sorry, that wasn't Carla. Mark, I would keep an eye on this and see if the portfolios part comes up for you in the future. And then let's see, somebody's asking if the portfolio view can be updated from the project versus adding status in this view. Yeah, so in this section, I have not seen that yet, that I can set the status for the plan and have that roll up here. Typically, for things like the status, when we want to capture those for our project, we're looking at the accelerator to do more of that. I'm going to go back to this slide right here for a second, okay? Because what we've been looking at so far today is more of this, right? What's in Planner. So the roadmap and the basic portfolios and baselines, all that great stuff that we saw. But I do just want you to keep in mind that for some of the other items, right, full programs where we can define the program and see things roll up, right, that comes more with the accelerator. Same with resource management and things like reporting, right? That's one thing that is really important as a part of this conversation, right? We're collecting all of this great data here, but being able to see everything roll up in a different way and get that overall view of things, the accelerator is really going to be what you need for that. All right, we do have previous webinars that are on YouTube related to the accelerator. We are also happy to have demos where we talk about the accelerator and how it could fit what you're looking for. It's something that varies, right, by organization. So if you want something more personal where we can talk through your options, that is, that's something we can set up. Okay, and then I see in the
Yeah, a quick question on license. Carla wanted to know, can users that do not have a Microsoft license be able to see and edit? They have a premium license, but only for project managers.
Okay. Yeah, so a big reason of why Microsoft has been making this switch, right, where they're combining Project for the Web and Planner, is to make things more accessible to the average team member who doesn't have a license beyond the 365 license. So what people see if they don't have the 365 license is the ability, they have the ability to view tasks that are assigned to them, and they can update things very simply, like the % complete, but they don't have, of course they can't create a premium plan, right? But they are more like a planner user. So this planner, the same way it used to come with Office 365, and any of us could log in and create a plan and make updates, that still exists for the average team member that doesn't have a project plan license or that premium license that you mentioned. Thank you, Megan. I missed that one. And then I think there's another one. So there is a Microsoft accelerator, and then part of what I showed in the beginning is that we've got an accelerator as well. With our accelerator, what we do is we tailor that. So for our engagements with the accelerator, they could go a couple of different ways. Some people like what's out of the box, and it's based on best practices. So it's, a good way to make sure that everybody's adhering to best practices. So we have an out of the box version that we deploy. And then others have more of their processes defined and they want to see certain things. So what we'll do is we'll gather requirements and then we'll talk through exactly what needs to be seen. So this is a look at what our accelerator looks like. We call it PPM 360. It's got an intake module so that if you need to submit ideas for new projects and have those approved, then that's all handled here. Projects can be set up here as well. And then those projects, I'm going to open up one and I'll try to be quick here, just keeping an eye on the time. But what this does is it allows you to track all of your project details. And then the project charter, our status, like we talked about a little bit earlier based on one of the questions in the chat. This is where we can have our status updates. And then the statuses here can roll up to a program or a portfolio. Or both, right? Weekly status reports are captured here. Financials, this all varies based on how deeply you track financials. So if there are invoices and purchase requisitions and all that, we sync with other apps to bring that information here and then give the PM a good idea of where they are financially. But I also just want to point out there are risks, issues, changes, lessons learned. So all the things that you would be used to on a normal, project are here. And then the tasks part, what you'll see is that this is exactly what we were looking at when we saw the premium planner plan, right? So grid, board, timeline, the charts, people, and that assignments view that I told you is a lot like the Microsoft project views, right? So here, we can divide things up and make sure we're fine-tuning how many hours are assigned to each person on a task. And then, of course, resource management. So just like we saw on the slide, right, the resource management, full program and portfolio. There's a question in the chat about where the data for this is stored. The data is stored in the Dataverse. For the accelerators, what we use is Microsoft's Power Platform. So you'll see here I'm in Power Apps. The notifications, requests for approval, those are all done using Power Automate. And then, of course, Power BI reports come into play. And then the data source there is the Dataverse. We also have, some overlap with SharePoint, right? If there are attachments that you want to capture, we'll be able to see those in SharePoint, or we can add SharePoint here. Teams is based on SharePoint. And an important thing that we do with our projects and our accelerator is that we do typically integrate those with Microsoft Teams. Okay, so with Teams, you get the project details that we saw in the browser a moment ago. And we also get a close-up view into the project tasks, which again is essentially going to be Planner. So this is everything we just saw in the browser. We can expand this so you have more space. And then project tasks. This is again, a view into the project tasks that are captured using the accelerator. And then again, the same views that we saw in the premium plan. So this is a premium plan that's, the accelerator is built around. And then from here, we've got all those same great things. We've got the quick look. We can tell that there are notes on a lot of these, attachments on some, comments on others, and a conversation that's already been happening. Right, so we can look into this and see some of the conversations that we've been having for these, right? So what the goal here is to enhance collaboration. Microsoft's been doing a great job of allowing you to track your personal tasks, but also keep your eye on that big picture and see all of your tasks from different areas. It's also set up so that with this, not only can you manage your personal tasks, but you can start to create plans if you have a need to include more people. And then we just saw a little sneak peek of the portfolios, right? Where we can take it one level higher and start to capture the different plans as part of a portfolio. And then when it comes to the plans, we have the basic plan. If we just have a quick thing that we want to capture a few tasks for, or if we are somebody without that premium license, we still can create a plan, right? And just keep it basic. And then if we do have the premium license, then we can create that more detailed plan where we can have those advanced dependencies and the different views there that help us to schedule our timeline, right? So there's all of that. And then we are really keen to work with Microsoft and keep it so that as they come up with these, we're following that same line of thought, making things really easily accessible and easy to update. So that's a big reason why with Teams and our integration here, it's really important that we have this tab here where we can see those tasks. So if we need to ping somebody and ask them for a task update or remind them about something, we can do that, but we can also converse through here, right? And it takes advantage of the posts. We still get the files and the notebook and everything that Teams normally adds, but we've got a lot more options as far as keeping things really easy to use and really easy to stay in touch with the team about. All right, we have a couple more minutes left. And I'm wondering if there are some questions maybe that I missed in the chat, or if anybody else has any questions that haven't come up yet. All right, well, I will bring up the slide deck again just to make sure that you can see our website here. There's also an email address that you can use to reach out. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Yeah,
Thank
thanks for
you.
coming. And again, we'll send out that recording and keep coming. We have at least 2 a month. So